Figuring out how to take care of myself with me being the one who's solely responsible for my health now.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of World Changers in the Making. I am your host, Asha B, and today, guys, I'm so excited for this topic. We're going to be talking about all things mental health, physical health, and spiritual health in college. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. All right, Makiyah, thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. So I have a couple questions for you first. My first question is, what year are you here at Regent? And then my second question is, what degree are you doing here?
Yeah, I am a sophomore here at Regent, and my degree is business marketing.
Okay, right on. You know, we live in a world that is constantly changing, constantly promoting new things, new ideas. And we definitely live in a culture that is oftentimes based on consumerism, right? And so one of the things that has been very prominent in the past, I would say just 10 years of our culture is mental health and all that comes with that. So, you know, I know that you have a lot of wisdom on this topic. So I just wanted to ask you just a couple questions to just get your perspective on that. So my first question is, when it comes to defining the word healthy, how would you say that the world defines healthy versus a biblical perspective of health?
Yeah. The world and biblical view of what objectively healthy is might be kind of similar, actually. Just, in the sense of taking care of yourself and taking care of your mind, taking care of your body, like exercising, and just taking steps to make sure that your mind is okay and that you're regulating your emotions, that sort of thing. One of the key differences between a worldly perspective of health versus the biblical perspective of health, though, is that the worldly perspective, the ends is me, and it's all unto me, and it's all about glorifying me and that sort of thing. It's all a service unto me. However, with the biblical perspective, it's all unto the Lord, and everything that I'm doing to maintain my health is unto the Lord and as worship to Him and stewardship of the gift that He's given me. So I think that's the key difference. A lot of times the world and Christians, they might do a lot of the same things. But at the end of the day, what is your goal and your intent in doing those things, I think is probably the key difference.
That is so good. That is so wise. Just remembering, even as believers, sometimes I feel like it's easy to kind of just put our physical health on the back burner, our physical health, our emotional health. It's just easy to kind of oh, well, I mean, I got other things. I got to serve others. I got to pour into others. But like you said, our bodies are a gift. Yes, it's not, we're not taking them to heaven with us, but our bodies are truly a gift from the Lord. And so it's so important that we honor and that we respect that. And it's taking care of our bodies really is a form of worship to the Lord, because it's and not only is it worship to the Lord, but it puts, and I'll speak for myself, it puts me in a good space mentally to be able to do all the things that God's calling me to do. So I think that is so important. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So my second question for you is, what was it like for you transitioning from high school to college, just in relation of health and your mental health?
So transitioning from high school to college was really interesting for me. I played volleyball when I was in high school. So not playing that anymore when I came to college, I still had to find ways to be active and still make being active fun. Another thing was figuring out how to take care of myself with me being the one who's solely responsible for my health now. So basically in that, I just started going to the gym. And I also started doing more things outdoor activities, like playing pickleball or tennis, spike ball, volleyball occasionally. So those were a couple things that I do to stay active. But I think that for me, the biggest thing was realizing that I'm the one who's responsible for my health now. I can't blame my parents for the choices that they're making. I can't blame my circumstances anymore. It's really up to me how my health is going to play out from this point forward. And so while that can feel like a weighty responsibility, it's also there's a freedom in that because I can I can choose like what I'm gonna do, you know? And so it's exciting, but it's also like a weighty responsibility. And so I would say that's what it's been like transitioning.
Yeah. That's so good. And you know, it makes me think recently I was just praying to the Lord and I was talking to him and I was like, I just had this revelation that the past couple years, you know, of me being in college, 2 years of me being in college, I realized like, you know, when it comes to me working on my podcast or me working on speaking opportunities or me reading, I've always done it because I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm supposed to do because this is what my parents told me to do. But now it's like, no, I want to do these things for myself because I want to see myself succeed in these areas. But at first I was like, okay, well, Lord, is that a bad thing? Is it a bad thing to want to see myself succeed in these areas? But I realized it's not, because all of that, one, is filtered under the Lord and is done only by his strength. But also it puts me in a good position to be able to better equip and better handle the responsibilities that God has given me, because it's like, okay, well, I'm able to do a podcast, or I enjoy reading. So when I'm reading a book about how to help me grow closer to the Lord, I'm not doing it like in agony because I'm like, oh, I don't want to read. Or I'm not going on a walk because it's like, oh, this is what someone else wants me to do. I'm like, Lord, I'm going on this walk for me, but there's also intimacy with him in that. And so understanding that like you want to take care of yourself for yourself also, and that there's nothing wrong with that. And to not want to take care of yourself, oh, because this is what this person told me to do, but because I want to see myself grow and flourish, and I want to be confident in the person that God is calling me to be. Another question, why do you think it is so easy for college students to slack off with their health?
Yeah, I think you touched on this earlier. Like, we get so busy and sometimes we overload ourselves with too many things. Like, people tell us, like, you know, don't do more than 3 extracurriculars because you might get burnt out your freshman year. And then we try to do it anyway. Oh, yeah. Taking on too many things can definitely make it really hard to prioritize your health. But I think also just like not seeing the value in taking care of yourself right now is also another thing. Like, we think that because we're young, like we have time to like get on top of all that, like we don't need to do it right now. So I think that's like one of the reasons, is because one, our perspective is off, or two, we're just like too busy. But like, I think that's something that has helped me a lot, like in slacking off and trying to stay away from that, is recognizing that the things that I do today are actually going to have an impact on what my body's like 20 years from now. So like, I'm like taking conscious efforts in like a long-term goal of like, I want to be able to be up and moving around and being able to like serve the Lord in whatever capacity he's calling me to 20 years from now. I know that the choices that I make today will actually like contribute to that. So I think that's something that's really helped me, but also like recognizing that no matter what age I am, like the Lord's still asking me to steward this body that he's giving me. Like the responsibility doesn't change just because I'm 20, and maybe my body can handle it a lot better than someone who's older right now. My body can recover a lot easily, but even still, like the Lord's asking me to steward this. And so that's what I'm going to do.
That's so awesome. So much wisdom in that. And especially what you said about the effects of your, you know, what's going to be on your body years from now. That's even something that like I don't find myself thinking of oftentimes, especially with my sugar.
My sugar too.
It's a little difficult. But it's like, no, like all of that is so important. And it's like, you know, I want to be able to still go out and walk and do activities in my 40s and in my 50s and different things. And yes, it's important to live in the right now, but it's also important to use wisdom and to be aware, like, all right, what am I gonna look like, you know, 20 years from now. So we also put out a question on our Instagram, you know, for the audience. So the question was, what does staying healthy mean to you as a college student? And so one of our responses was from @Bella_Frey. And so what she said was not isolating. She was saying that community is so important, even when it feels like you don't have the time, being intentional. So I was wondering, do you have a comment on that statement just about the importance of community?
Yeah, I think that like having an accountability partner and whatever your goals are is so important.
Yeah.
Like for me, like all throughout college, I've been able to find someone who's like willing to go to the gym with me every day, or even if it's like only like 3 days a week, like we're still going, and having that accountability is so important, because even when I don't want to go, like I still want to go to help encourage someone else to go.
Right.
So then it's not all about me as well. Like in that
Right.
sense, having that accountability. And also like communicating to my friends, like my goals that I have for my health, like eating wise, the things like I've also been wanting to like cut down on my sugar. So that's been something for me. And so like telling my friends like, hey, I'm like cutting this out, or I'm like working on this. And then they're like keeping me accountable of that, and not in like a shame way or a guilt way. They never do that towards me. It's all in love, but like they're like helping me make sure that I'm being intentional about the decisions that I'm making.
That's
and
so
I think
good.
that's been really helpful.
That's so good, and that's so wise. Being willing to be vulnerable and honest. Can you just share a time where your mental health was under attack, and how did you see the Lord show up for you during that time?
Yeah, I think last spring was definitely a tough spot for me. I was really wrestling with a lot of worry and anxiety and fear. And that was something that I kind of always struggled with, even in my walk with the Lord. He freed me from so much when I met him. But even after that, like there were just so many underlying beliefs that I needed to work through with the Lord. And so last spring, like I think it started to rear its ugly head. And I think the Lord allowed that so that he could bring healing. And so I was just really wrestling with like racing thoughts, and like not really being able to like feeling like my mind was just like out of control sometimes.
Right,
And I was even like getting like scary dreams all the time, like every other night, like I was having bad dreams. And so basically like in that process, like I really dug deep into scripture, and I was like, God, like, what do you say about this? What is your will for me? And basically in that I found one, like in Proverbs, the Bible says, that the wicked flee when no one is pursuing them, but the righteous are as bold as a lion.
Yes,
And so like, yeah, like it's God's will for me to be bold, and meaning he wants me to be without fear. That's his will for me. Okay. So like, if it takes some time to get there, like that's okay. But at the end of the day, like that's what he wants for me. And so just like receiving that was big. For one, believing that was big. And then two, it kind of baffled me when Jesus says this, but he says, do not worry about your life. And so I was like, I had always worried about my life. So the thought of being able to not worry about my life, and you're like commanding me to do this? I'm like, what do you mean? So basically like, him even saying like, do not do this insinuates that we have a choice whether or not we're going to worry. You know, like feeling anxious, like we may not have as much control over that, but like choosing to worry, choosing to dwell on things that are outside of our control is an active choice that we make. And so I started really just thinking about that. And I also like looked at the root of the word worry that he uses in that scripture. And it actually just means to care or to think about. And so for so long, like I would look at some people who are like, I don't care about that. Or like, they're just like, I just don't think about it. And I was like so confused. I was like, what do you mean you don't care? What do you mean you don't think about it? But really it is that simple. Like he's saying like, you don't need to worry about like what you're going to eat tomorrow, what you're going to wear tomorrow, or worry about tomorrow at all. Like he literally says, like, just basically don't think about it. And so whenever I've caught myself like worrying about certain things, I've learned to now just like go into prayer with the Lord and surrender it, trust him with it. And then I'm not thinking about it after that. I actually have a choice. And if I do think about it, I'm focusing on how it's in the Lord's hands now.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And so I'm just going to let everything that you said sit and resonate with everyone watching this, because that was good. So lastly, if you could give your freshman year self some advice about taking care of her health and putting her health first and taking that more seriously, what would you say?
Yeah, I would tell her that you're not going to be perfect, but what you do consistently does matter. And so recently I've taken up what is kind of popular right now. It's called the 80-20 rule. I've been doing this actually for a while now, but like focusing on what I'm doing consistently, while also giving myself grace to make choices that aren't necessarily optimal. Because sometimes my best is just going out to eat or getting food from a gas station on a really busy day. Like, that's okay. Or sometimes my best is really like not being able to go to the gym and exercise and be active. But even still, like, having grace for that, but also like still aiming towards the goal of being consistent in my goals and prioritizing them. And so basically, I think like it's important to have grace, but like not have like an all or nothing mentality, because an all or nothing mentality, it just left me so discouraged and so feeling like I could never really attain my goals. When really, like, you just have to recognize that you're human, you're going to make mistakes, and but it's important to have grace for that, and there's no shame, there's no guilt. But also like focusing on what I'm doing consistently.
You have so much wisdom. Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you. Makiyah, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. Thank you all for tuning in to today's episode. I pray it has blessed and inspired you. This episode was brought to you by Regent University Marketing. To learn more about Regent University, visit regent.edu. And as always, friends, go forward knowing you are blessed and highly favored. See you next time.